Warning: the following game is rated M for mature for the following reasons of blood and gore, partial nudity, and violence. The commentary partly reflects upon that aspect, containing vulgar language, swearing, and of course, more swearing. Viewer discretion is advised. All this time, and that guy still has the exact same derpy expression.
Mm-hmm.
Not like you.
My face is derpy?
Sometimes. Anyways, welcome back everyone to Ghost Dragon Gaming. My name is Danger Arcturus Soul.
I'm Mr. Terminator.
Welcome back everyone to Dark Souls 2.
Scholar of the First Sin.
So, last time I stopped what I was doing because I realized I almost forgot something important.
Fighting through these fire salamanders.
And this time, after I'm finished fighting them, we'll fight the Arcturus Earth.
There's quite a few of these things down here.
Don't worry. There's one more after this guy.
Is it up here or down where that item was?
Up here.
Ah, there he is.
Yeah, look at Derbzello over there.
How do these things grow so big?
Magic. Come around, everything should be done. Should be done cooking.
There you go.
All the fire turns off, by the way.
Huh.
So, with that, we can pop open the chest down here and collect all the loot. That has been kind of taunting me for a while now.
Flame quartz ring.
That buffs our fire defense.
Okay, that'll be helpful.
Got a large soul for Proud Knight. Those holes, by the way, are instant death.
Fire Drake Stone.
Gives weapons fire abilities.
Okay.
And the Hawk Ring.
Huh. Is that what we came down here for?
Kind of. It'll come in handy much later on. If I ever actually need it. But that's not why we came here.
It's that over there?
Uh-huh. Which, fun fact. This area down here was the same area of which that fire lizard was shooting at when I ran it down to open up the, the door to get the fire longsword. Remember?
Oh.
All the way back forever ago. You get Rebel's Great Shield and the Heavy Iron Key.
So we trade one iron key for a heavier iron key.
An important iron key.
For the boss?
Not for the boss. Here, while we're riding up, actually, I'm trying to repeat myself. Uh-oh.
He's not on the elevator. Oh, there he is!
He's just chilling.
I would have laughed if he fell.
He did not like my contempted idea. Cool.
Where'd he go?
Ryan!
Where did he fucking go?
Ryan, did you take that guy to the board with you? We've been over this before. You're not allowed to have guests
again,
and uninvited visitors. Hey, he's not there.
Oh my God.
Ryan, you're not allowed to have uninvited visitors. Put him the fuck back, got it?
Please, Ryan.
Ryan, you're violating your contract if you keep him.
I'll give you 5 extra peanuts.
Don't pander to him. He's already violating his contract, bringing uninvited guests into the void. I told him not to do that.
Sometimes you gotta work with people, right?
This is Ryan, okay? He's not a scummy bandit. He's our editor, who's slightly scummy. And probably laughing at us right now. Ow. Alright, so, with that taken care of, all our prep work.
Alright, time to find the Arcturus, you said?
Uh-huh. I'm gonna swap out for the flame quartz ring here, just in case I need it.
Yeah. Ounce of prevention and all
I'm not
that.
gonna need durability with this. Ready?
In we go.
I want to point out one big problem here with Earth Icarus here.
What was that?
The main problem with this guy is he's kind of been chilling in this lava as if it's like a slightly warmed soup.
You don't really chill out in soup.
Well, this guy had spicy soup. And we're interrupting his chill time. I'm just getting a couple of free hits in here.
Okay.
Meet the old Iron King.
Hello.
Very lethargic. I'm giving a high five to Albert. Oh. Oops. And it worked. Yeah, this guy's not really a difficult boss fight. Look, we got the old Iron King soul and another great one invested. And also 65,000 souls.
Yeah, that's a lot of...
Fun facts, by the way, with his sweeping attacks, there's a chance that he might play golf with you and... Ah, yeah.
What's in here?
Lighting this. Another one of the primordial bonfires has been rekindled. But also,
This.
something a little bit interesting. Trespassers will face adversity, fitting a monarch.
Hmm?
In the tower of the old Iron King resides a child of dark. With water dry and path amiss, willful temptation is dismissed. Forbidden is the path of the ancient king's domain. In our inventory, we have the heavy iron key, which guides one to an unknown land.
Oh, is this the DLC?
A piece of iron shaped like a key. Past the altar deep within the Iron Keep and through a door in the tower that the old Iron King used to produce iron. The unearthly weight of this chunk of iron is a reminder of the Iron King's own immeasurable strength. This is for the DLC, you guessed it right. One thing I want to point out with the DLC and how it kind of functioned is that back when Dark Souls 2 was just Dark Souls 2, if you didn't get the DLC, you still had the DLC in your game. All you get for paying for the DLC is the keys will spawn in the world for you to then unlock the door. If you don't have the DLC, you can set up a summon sign in these weird rooms with these statues. In turn, players outside in the DLC could see your summon sign and summon you in to help them, all without you having to pay for the DLC.
Huh.
Weird, huh? And there's 2 rooms for this.
So it's kind of like a sampler.
Kind of. Nowadays, though, with Scholar of the First Sin, where the DLC is already included, this is kind of
Defunct.
pretty much, but they still kind of kept it in as a sort of, I wouldn't say reminder, but a remembrance of sorts. We're opening the door here. We're met with an elevator. A fancy elevator at that.
Already a fog wall.
You ready to see what's on the other side?
Go ahead.
Not a boss, though.
What?
Welcome to the old Iron King's lands.
This is what it used to look like before it fell in.
Fully, at least. Also, these are Vendrick's knights, by the way. His soldiers, right?
Hmm?
This guy's all charred. Well, this guy. And that's what kind of burned them.
Ooh.
He's got 6 smelter wedges.
Just don't look down. Ooh.
Look down.
Ah! Heights are dizzy in here.
Welcome to Broom Tower. We're gonna explore the DLC
Later?
much later on. I just wanted to come here and get this bonfire set up to begin with. You know what I
We
mean?
can warp whenever we need.
We're ready to do it, yeah. Done deal, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's time to do the one thing you've been waiting for me to do for a while and a half now.
The lore!
Mm-hmm. Before I delve into the lore with everything, I'm going to quickly run over and check out with the guy here, because believe it or not, the guy, the guy in here that sells the boss armors, there is one boss armor that we can buy.
You need armor.
Huh.
Which is the Smelter Demon armor. Helm of the Smelter Demon, a great mass of iron that was given life. It has a high fire defense, and the old Iron King was
Of a great
possessed
bounty
of a
of
great
ore.
bounty of ore, but was incinerated by a creature that rose from the infernal depths of the earth. Real quick, I just want to buy this armor because I want to partly showcase something here.
Thanks for the purchase.
Namely, if I just go ahead and remove everything else. Yeah. Oh! Go devs! Some people literally buy that armor just for that. I don't mind spending the extra bit there. I'm never going to use the armor really, unless I absolutely need it, which I will need in the DLC, believe it or not.
Oh.
So
how much lore are we getting here?
So you're so
a whole enchilada.
Everything that we've been... About time.
Real quick, though. There we go.
Alright, past halfway there for that.
So, one thing I want to point out with this guy is that if we were to kill him in New Game Plus, the Old Iron King, he would drop another soul, much like all the other great ones. The other soul would be an old Flame Lord's soul.
Okay.
And it would hint about this person being a patron of lightning and light.
Sounds familiar.
Before casting himself into a great fire.
Yeah, sounds very familiar.
So, let me see here. So we got Skeleton Lords, Executioner's Chariot. So here's the thing. The Executioner's Chariot was the first boss that which we faced along our journey, right? At least within, you know, on our path to the Old Iron King. Soul of the Chariot's Executioner's Chariot that holds control over the undead purgatory. The chariot was created only to torment undead, and it took the form of a horrendous mad steed, a window into the soul of its master, i.e., the actual horse itself. The design, I'll go over all that in a second. I'm just going to read the soul description first. Skeleton Lord's soul reads, soul of a skeleton lord who reigned from deep within the huntsman's copse. The old Iron King commanded the capture of all undead, but those charged with the task were overcome by the curse. The covetous demon soul reads, soul of a covetous demon that devours all things. Eating is an expression of desire. There once was a man whose deep affections were unrequited. He transformed into the covetous demon, which only made him lonelier than before. And then we got Mytha, the Baneful Queen soul, which reads, soul of Mytha, the Baneful Queen, who lives in the Earthian peak. The queen sought the king's affection, even poisoning herself to attain beauty, despite the monstrous consequences. All for the compelling madness known as love. And lastly, we have the Smelter Demon, which reads, soul of the Smelter Demon that haunts the castle that sunk into a pool of iron. The old Iron King's life was taken by a mass of iron that had been given a soul. Was this the metal Goliath there from the beginning, or was it a product of the king's conceit? Last but not least, of course, we have the old Iron King's soul, which reads, soul of the old Iron King who succumbed into the flames that swallowed his castle. The Iron King's flesh was charred, and his soul possessed by the things that lurk below. So, let me explain. The old Iron King, much like other great rulers, was deceived by the undead curse. Much like those here, inside of the Bastille, instead of turning his own home into a prison, he had the Colosseum become an undead purgatory, in which all the undead were rounded up, tossed in here, and left to eternally be tormented, in the hope that they would never be able to escape, which it worked, until his captors, also succumbed to the curse. The Skeleton Lords once would help wrangle and gather hordes of undead and bring them into the purgatory. But of course, the curse got to them as well. As of with Harvest Valley, to best explain it, we need to take a couple of steps back. All the way back to the Lost Bastille. Primarily with the lore we got with Belfry Luna, in which the princess and the prince, deeply in love with one another, she down by the coast and he atop a massive mountain. The two had a deep love for each other, an undying love some would argue. If I go ahead and pull up the ring, we got a ring of blades, one from the Forest of Giants with the pursuer that was technically speaking would linger also at the Lost Bastille, as well as this. They both read the same thing, which the ring of blades is molded after the Mad Knight of Alkin's weapon of choice, which increases physical attack. The kingdoms of Alkin and Ven long ago flourished on these very grounds. They were both founded by the same man, but were reduced to rivalry and spite. The Lost Bastille, one point in time, used to be known as either Alkin or Ven, with the Iron Keep once being known as the other one also. And a long time ago, the prince and the princess had a love for one another, but couldn't due to those around them, especially with their kingdom's vast, great rivalry.
Oh, no.
But they had a love for each other, and thus had crafted bells that they then gave to one another. He had the one from her, and she had the one from him. They then created their marionettes to help guard the bell, and each day would ring it as a sign for their love for one another. Eventually, of course, though, the prince became the king, and he had to do his duties.
He couldn't ring the bell.
No, he still rang the bell regardless. But he never did anything else than just ring the bell. All he did was ring the bell to sign his love up to her, but was married to Micah. Micah knew of this, if you will, predicament, where he was in love with someone else, but was with her, but at the very least wasn't doing anything, you know what I mean? At least he was faithful. But for her, she couldn't handle it. She could not take it.
So she was poisoning herself.
Because she assumed she wasn't pretty enough. You know how it is. Products and whatnot can be hazardous to health in some cases. And thus she cracked open the earth and began to bathe in the poisons, until eventually she became what she became. And in fact, her adoration and love maybe went a little too far, namely with the Mannequin's Mask, which reads, Mask of the Mannequins of Harvest Valley. A fickle queen gave them life and tore off their faces, How else could she forgive those who dared gaze upon her? She became spiteful, angry, anything and everyone that looked upon her. Off with their face, off with their head.
Because she thought that
she was saving herself for her man. As time carried on, she lost her... Oops. As time carried on, she eventually did lose her mind to the poisons. And the covetous demon at one point in time was just another man. Either a servant, could have even been a consort or anything else that loved Mytha. But she was in love with the old Iron King. And the old Iron King was in love with the princess here, of which the princess loved him back. As time carried on, especially with her own insanity here, the lonesome man began to eat, and eat, and eat, and eventually began to even eat the undead, until eventually he bloated and became the covetous demon.
a series of unfortunate events.
And then, meanwhile at the Iron King, in a sort of sadness and depression, he kept building and building and building, much like how we saw here. And eventually someday his creations just became too heavy. Now, I want to point out, the Iron Keep here, I like to believe that we did go backwards in time, technically speaking, to Broom Tower, which Broom Tower might have been the proper seat of his empire, in a sense. And that this could have been nearby somewhere, and that when this sank into the lava, so did this. And he didn't get out in time. He sank with his castle and
emerged with the iron.
Especially with those things that lurked deep inside, kind of being possessed by it. I want to point out that weird ashen creature thing that we saw there is, technically speaking, one of the things that possibly could have been lurking in the lava. By ending the Iron King, we've ended his suffering along with those things that were possessing him. But of course, the bell would stop ringing. And the princess began looking into the matter and saw the horrendous states that Huntsman Copse had become, that Earthian Peak had become, of what her lover's land became. And she felt guilty. For if she did not return the love, if she didn't continue doing this knowingly, because Mytha, she couldn't have done anything. She didn't want to go and kill the princess here. That'd be doing a warfare. That'd be getting in a conflict of interest. If she killed her lover's love, he wouldn't return it back to her ever. So she was hoping that she could get beautiful enough to be loved. And the princess, in all of her grief, all of her misery and pain, casted herself into the lowest prison inside of her own Bastille. Bound in irons, strapping a mask of spikes to her face, cuffing herself, and reducing herself to rags willingly.
That's who...
The lost sinner. And thus, she punished herself and blamed herself only because she was the last one left of this horrible, horrible love square.
Why? When he became king, why couldn't he just end the feud by marrying her?
It's the subjects around him, as well as technically speaking those of which that are older than him. You know Romeo and Juliet and how that works, right? I've been wanting to talk about this, by the way, for a fucking while. But I couldn't.
You didn't have all the pieces.
Well, I had all the pieces. It just, you know, spoiler territory.
Well, at least all the pieces for me, anyway.
Yep. But yeah. Talk about one hell of a convoluted story, huh?
Why did those two kingdoms fight to begin with?
Kingdoms can enter feuds for the most fickle of reasons. Wealth, power, strength in land. Remember, a vast wealth of iron compared to this place, which didn't really have much going for it. It was on the seaside, yes, it was beautiful. And technically speaking, the kingdom could have even outstretched to here with Hade's Tower, the colony that once built itself along the ocean front before much of it fell into the ocean. There's no telling, to be honest, in full. I like to believe that this place and all of this was one of the kingdoms, and that this place and all of this was the other kingdom.
Do you think that under it all, the old Iron King remembers?
Possibly. It is also rather interesting the fact that the old Iron King is Gwyn in this case, as we know, with the lost sinner being Isolith. And it's funny, too. The princess of this kingdom, along with Isolith, both have a link, a sin. She committed the sin of, if you will, adultery. Not physically, but, you know, still a sin, which led to the destruction of an entire neighboring kingdom. And Isolith committed the sin of trying to ignite a new fire. You know, the bed of chaos and whatnot. That destroyed all of Isolith. Gwyn and the old Iron King also have a similar link. Both consumed by fire. Doing and trying to protect what they love. In his case, he was building his iron keep to stave off his own depression and empty heart. In Gwyn, he cast himself into the fire to keep the Age of Light and the Age of Fire going. Yeah. There's a lot of insanity. But this story, believe it or not, is not over. Because there'll be more that will be explained and shown when we do the DLC.
And venture back into the past.
I like to believe this is the past. People get topsy-turvy with this. Some say we're going off somewhere a bit out of the sight lines of there. And other people argue that we go in the past. I personally like to believe we went in the past. It makes it easier to explain certain things, at least with my story. My story could be different from anyone else's story. For all I know, my story of, you know, love and everything else like this, someone else could interpret as something else entirely different. For all we know, the covetous demon could be the one that everyone was lusting over, and he just wanted food. Hey, that's someone's headcanon, man. I can't control that.
I'm not sure that fits quite as well, but
I got you to stop crying, at least. Well, that was a long explanation there. We're at 35 minutes.
Jesus.
I told you it was gonna be a long story. I didn't tell this on camera. I told it off camera, but it's a long story.
Well, now that we've finally gotten the lore taken care of,
Your thoughts, though?
well, maybe they can finally be reunited now that they're both, you know.
Time will tell. Time will tell. So, that does it for this episode, everyone. Until next time, do me a huge, huge favor. Weary of the dark.
See you next time.
Bye.